Hi, everybody. What's up? Stuff.
How's it going?
Yo.
We heard you went medieval on that reporter on the conference call before.
See, that's the difference between a journalist and a mama's basement blogger. You know, that's not trying to get any actual information and report the news. That's just trying to get a rise out of people, which is really unprofessional and, not up to the level of anyone here. You know, because my sister is an actual journalist. She went to NYU. She's an award-winning, Hispanic Journalist of the Year, everything like that. You know, I know what a real journalist is supposed to look like and supposed to behave, and that guy wasn't it. But whatever. Not everybody can be good at their job.
Ronda, what did you think of the news conference that UFC held today about their new drug policy and toughening up the way things have been?
I'm actually extremely encouraged by all the new steps that they're taking. It's becoming much closer to the drug testing and policies that I got used to growing up with USADA. And one thing that I thought was really lacking before was random out-of-competition drug testing for everybody all the time, which is what I've had to deal with since I was 16 years old. You know, I started getting in-competition drug testing at 14 and then was doing in and out-of-competition drug testing by the time I was 16. And I thought it was a real shame that at 16 years old, I was getting tested more strictly and stringently than I was, as a world champion fighter. And now it really seems like the USADA and UFC policies are becoming much more comparable, and I'm really, really, really happy to see that. And I'm happy that they're also increasing the punishments. With USADA, I believe, if you test positive, then you are out of the next Olympics. So you could be out up to 4 years for the whole quadrennial, and then you got to wait another 4 years for Olympics to come. So you could even be out for like 8 years if you think about it, waiting for another Olympics with USADA. And now that the UFC raised it up to 2 years, I'm really happy to hear that. I really would like to see increased punishments for people who are repeat offenders. That if every time you do it, it's only 2 years. Maybe it should double every single time. So you do it the first time it's 2, do the second time it's 4, do the next time it's 8 or something like that. But that's just my opinion. I believe that with a combat sport like the UFC, it's so important, so much more important than any other sport, because it's not just fairness, it's the safety of the fighters. And keeping the sport safe is what makes it possible for us to do it. And I don't think that your honor is worth any kind of, you can't exchange your honor for the accolades of any kind of accomplishment, but some people believe that. But it's not just about honor with MMA, it's also about the safety of the person. It's not that, this is unfair, it is unsafe. Someone could get hurt, someone could really die. If it's not like you can keep beating the weightlifting world record. I'm like, instead of 500 pounds, it's now 550. It's now 560. No, it's now another human being can hit another human being harder. And there is a limit to how much a person can take. And once you pass the threshold of what's natural, then you start to get to a whole nother level where it's like these people are taking unnatural amounts of punishment, and something bad is going to happen. And I'm so happy that the UFC has really realized how serious this is and are treating it like that. We're really thinking out it's not just about fairness, it's about preserving the sport and preserving fighters.
As a champion, did you ever speak with them about this? Did they consult their current champions and get your opinions on this at all?
I don't know if I was consulted, but I gave my opinion. I gave it. And, I'm glad that it didn't fall on deaf ears. I'm sure it didn't come just from me. I mean, these guys are smart. They know how to do business, and the number one thing that they can do to protect their investment of all these years and all this money is to make sure that the sport endures. And no one-off pay-per-view here or there that is worth the entire future of the sport. It's extremely short-sighted, and I'm glad that they're taking a very long view.
Have you sparred somebody who you felt was juiced?
I don't know. You never know. When I was in the Olympics, I assumed everybody was, you know. But that was the great thing about the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency is I really felt like our own organization, our own country, was out trying to catch us instead of out trying to help us pass international tests. And I was proud of that. And it's something like I could get drug. I would be happy to be drug tested every single day, and I would be happy. The more the worse the punishments are, the better. And I'm just happy to see the trend that it's going. And if someone's juicing or not, I was always raised that you have to be good enough anyway. You have to be better than any person, regardless of what kind of advantages they have, fair or unfair. And, you know, that's why my mom would always tell me, you have to be good enough to be the best in the world on your very worst day. And it doesn't matter what kind of advantage the other person has. That's why another thing that she told me all the time, it's written on the wall over there, is no one has a right to beat you. It doesn't matter if you're on steroids, it doesn't matter if they had everything that you never had. It doesn't matter, they don't have a right to beat you.
Do you think the fighters should have had more of an input in the UFC's decision to implement this new testing policy?
So what was the first part?
Do you think the fighters should have had more of an input, kind of like a collective bargaining type of deal?
A bargain?
Collective bargaining, kind of like it's done in NBA, NFL, MLB.
Well, I'm really happy with what they came up with, and no, I think that this is the kind of thing that the organization needs to take a stand on. It's not up for debate. It's for everyone's safety and it's for their benefit.
How excited are you to fight in your hometown and be back in LA?
I'm pretty stoked to fight in LA. It's nice to drive past the Staples Center every day, and I see my me and Kat flash up on the billboard, and I get to like point at it in my car every day when I'm driving by, and it's just convenient. I fought everywhere around the world when I was doing judo, and I'm used to staying in a hut in the cold and in Belgium, and then coming out and fighting in some gym, and you know it doesn't matter. Every single situation I've already been in it, but it's nice and cozy and convenient, I guess.
You kind of run through past opponents in the UFC. What makes Kat different from them?
Kat is different because not only is she undefeated, but she has that kind of indomitable spirit that I haven't really seen exhibited by anybody else. The level that she has. There's been opponents I fought before that have been down in the fight and have been able to come back. But I've never fought anyone that she's been down in fights before, and every single time she's come back and finished the other person. And given everything that she's been through lately and her life outside of fighting, I really feel like she's one of those people that is impossible to intimidate, so I don't even try. And I think that she's also the best, like the most well-rounded. I've never gone to the ground with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt before. Alexis was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but I didn't get there. And I've never been tested in that way on the ground. Her first discipline was actually wrestling, and a lot of people forget that. And she's a very strong grappler, but everyone knows her for her striking, because it's obvious that her striking is an extreme strong suit, and people still like to criticize mine. But I know I'm still better in every single area, because she's definitely the most well-rounded fighter I've ever come across, and she has the best mentality of any opponent that I've come across yet.
You've been able to go through everyone pretty easily, and Dana kind of joked recently that you might have to put you with the men. What do you make of that? And
it's a joke, and it's not easy. No one's easy until after you beat them. Another thing on the board. You see, it's like a cheat sheet over there. Like I wrote on my hand. Like this is like I'm taking a pop quiz. So like I wrote everything. I'm looking over there for my quotes. But it only looks like that because I prepare so well. It's not like the level of anticipation, the level of competition in the division is very high and it's very tight. And the only reason it doesn't look that way is because I prepare so much better and I work so much harder than they do. It's not that it is easy, it's that I find a way, I find a solution quicker than they can find a response. And the fact that we have a women's main event and co-main event on this card is proof that there is a lot of high quality competition out there. And after I beat Kat, I'd be happy to take on, whether Holly or Raquel end up putting a winning streak together. There's many other names out there. Betch Correa is still undefeated, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone. I know that I am. Oh well, there's somebody else.
Jessica.
What? Oh yeah, Jessica I. Oh my God, exploding ear. How do you forget that? Yeah, if there's a chick in the division that's making ears explode, there's competition out there.
What
When people talk about you, Ronda, they say, they say the most dominant women's fighter in the UFC, the most dominant women's fighter in MMA. How do you get them to say just the most dominant fighter and take out the women part?
I don't know. I'm still working on it. But I'm trying to be as dominant as possible, and maybe one day that asterisk will disappear. But I can only control what's put in front of me to control, and how people perceive my accomplishments is up to them, not me.
Is that a goal? Like, you want to be the most dominant fighter, period, not woman, not men, period. You want to be the most
Oh
dominant
yeah,
fighter.
it definitely is a goal of mine. But
Yeah.
whether I achieve that or not, whether or not people perceive it one way or another, doesn't have anything to do with the actual accomplishment. I'll know when I reach the point where I'm like, okay, I know I'm the most dominant and the greatest of all time. I know that I'm there, and then I'll be ready to hang up my gloves and move on. But whether or not anyone else sees it that way, it doesn't matter, because I'll see it that way.
Did you know you're just one armbar behind Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira for the most number of armbars?
No, I didn't know that. I'm not.
One more, and then you prove it right there. You match it with the man.
I mean, I'm not aiming for things for stats. I'm not a trading card. I don't care. But actually, I am a trading card, but not in real life. I just want every single time that I go out there, people to be on their feet the entire time and have no idea what's about to happen, but they know it's going to be great, and that's why people keep watching.
What about the further validation of women's fighting? I mean, like you said, the main and co-main both being women's fights, and both pretty intense fights. I mean, the UFC didn't hesitate to make Holly's fight the co-main.
Well, I think it's a very wise investment in the future of the division. They're not just they're thinking about future title fights for the women's division, and I think it's very important to make sure that the women in contention get viewed. And after I beat Kat, I definitely see it as a very reasonable possibility that I would fight Holly down the line. She's a world champion boxer that's coming to MMA. I mean, the level of athletes that are coming into women's MMA, because we have so much fewer options when it comes to combat sports, I think presents a lot more interesting matchups than the men. I mean, for me and Sarah McMahon, that was the first time ever that 2 Olympic medalists were fighting for a UFC title. And with Holly Holm, I mean, she's the first boxing world champion that was seriously doing MMA. I know, like, James Toney did a one-off before, but he wasn't really joining the UFC. He just did one fight. Whereas, me and Holly Holm fight for the title later down the line, you'll have an Olympic medalist in judo versus a world champion in boxing, which it really gets back down to the roots of what MMA was intended to be from the beginning. We get to see which discipline really rules over the other, and that's kind of the advantage in the delayed development that the women have behind the guys. And it's interesting to see that part of MMA again, because the guys are kind of more, okay, there's just that MMA style now, whereas the women are at that point where everyone's coming from a different discipline. And in the next few years, we'll have, this chick just grew up doing MMA, and her style is MMA, but right now it's kind of cool to see which styles win.
Just to go back to the PED issue for a second, have you ever been offered any steroids or anything like that in your career, whether it be judo or MMA?
No, I've never even seen a steroid in my life. I've never even seen one, because I'm not around those kind of people. Mm-hmm. And anyone that knows me knows that if they even mentioned that kind of thing to me, I would never speak to them again. It's like taking, I don't know. It's one of those things like you are dead to me if you say anything like that. And anyone who knows me knows that and would never even dream of mentioning it.
How many times have you been tested this camp?
This camp? Just once. Just once. I would like to be tested more, honestly. But, it's random, and so that's part of the random thing. I can't really say like, oh, they're going to test me again next week. So they could show up right after, right after you ask me this question. But yeah, I would. If you could count on it being every week, then you could also time it. And so I like just having that not knowing.
Was it blood and urine, or just urine, or?
It was just urine, but blood is a little trickier, like close to the fight, because you're losing blood. I think farther out from the fight. I think giving blood would be cool, and I think the night of the fight, I'm totally down for giving blood the night of the fight. I think that'd be great. So, but you know, the more the better. I wish there was more, but we're making a lot of progress still.
Like, has your opinion changed of Anderson Silva? You seem like a different person now.
Yeah, I'm a little heartbroken about it. You know, it's such an issue that I've had such a strong stance on for as long as I can remember. You know, growing up, I would hear my mother telling me about having honor and never doubting yourself or cheating yourself or doing anything like that. And it is so ingrained in my psyche, you know, no, I don't think I could ever look at anyone the same ever again after they do that. And it's a shame.
Did you ever doubt that this fight would actually come to fruition? I know you said in the past that you thought you guys were always going to meet, but through all the obstacles, I know you were there to watch the fight against Misha, and the whole Ultimate Fighter fiasco, then, you know, even when this was signed, it was postponed again. Has that been odd at all, just thinking something would happen?
It's been a little frustrating because I need competition like Kat. I can't do this by myself. I needed a partner to dance with. And I always knew that it would happen. It would happen eventually. I knew it wasn't the kind of thing that she would just give up on. And that there would be a day where everything would line up and it'd be possible. So that day has come, and I'm more than ready for it. I've prepared for it all this time. You know, I am ready. It's just a state that I'm in. That's what you have to be when you're the champion. Contenders have the luxury of getting ready. It's just something I am.
Speaking of you being ready, has the whole process, has it been any different than before, considering your injuries and having to deal with those and combat them?
No, I've been dealing with injuries my whole life. I mean, I got my first knee surgery when I was 16 years old, and it was actually a very similar schedule to this, I guess. I mean, I got my knee surgery in April 1st of 2003, and then I was not even ranked on the seniors at all. I was just doing junior level judo.
And that's when your rise kind of started.
Exactly. I took that whole summer. I only trained on the ground, so that's when I started doing arm bars and everything like that nonstop. And by that August, I fought in my first senior tournament. By that October, I was #1 in the country, and by that June, I was on the Olympic team. And that is the model that I've been given my whole life. And you know, even in 2007, I had knee surgery, and then I had knee surgery, moved up into a new division, and fought in the World Championships and got a silver medal. And that was all.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all from like June to October again. So no, I'm used to it. It's cool. I actually got more time than I'm used to. If we fought in October, I would have been ready.
How many times do you want to fight this year?
I like 2 to 3. I like 2 to 3, but I mean, you never know. It's a little bit of a chaotic business, and you never know when you're going to be needed or when you have to step up. Like McMahon, 56 days after Misha wasn't something I was expecting, but I was ready to step up. And then I ended up actually getting kind of antsy sitting on the shelf because I started hearing that I would fight in December, and then I didn't want to wait that long, so I wanted to find somewhere in between. So I thought maybe August would be better, but then Expendables was premiering, so then I asked for July. You know, so like there's so many factors going on that you never know. But ideally, I like 2 to 3.
Any movies coming up?
Yeah, we have Furious 7 coming out in April. Anyone?
Yes.
April, and then Entourage is coming out in June.
Yes.
May?
May or June.
May or June? Yeah. There's stuff happening. Yeah. There's some things going on. I don't know. I don't really. The fact that I don't even know the dates of when my movies are coming out really shows how focused I am on beating Kat first.
Another big issue in MMA right now is fighter pay. The UFC is being sued. It's an antitrust lawsuit against them. What's your take on that? Do you think fighters get paid enough?
Well, I think that they should get paid more than the ring girls. And I don't know if the ring girls get paid too much or the fighters don't get paid enough. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more in what the fighters do than what they do. So I think that's one thing that's unfair. But, you know, I've always been very well taken care of, and I'm always extremely happy with how I've been treated. And I always think it's been extremely fair, given what but I have a comparison with how I was treated as an Olympian to how I'm treated as a UFC fighter. And I always feel like I'm just so lucky to work with a company that really, I feel like, actually cares. There's times where they give me more than they're contractually obligated to or what I even expect. And that's why I always trust them so much. If they didn't, even if they didn't ever give me anything extra, I would still be happy, because you know what I made as an Olympian? Nothing. It cost me money. It cost me money. I got my first house. I got a car. I'm pretty much, what else do I need? I don't need a private island. You know, my house is paid off. My car is paid off. I just need to buy dog food and pay my taxes. And that's pretty much it, you know? I have no need to want, and the only thing I want to do now is fight, and they've made that possible for me, and I'm eternally grateful.
Do you think the UFC is a monopoly?
No, I don't think the UFC is a monopoly at all. Viacom owns Bellator, and they have way more money than the UFC does.
Ronda, how did you respond to the SI offer for that shoot? Any hesitation at all? Or?
No, there wasn't any hesitation at all. Yeah, I was stoked from the very beginning. Why would you hesitate? If you got asked to be a Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot, I think you would do it. Don't blush. I don't know. Walter Eos is a genius. I think he can make you look rockin'.
It's so funny that, I mean, the road that you've made in life. I mean, you've always talked about being a tomboy and being someone who kind of shied away from any kind of glamour shots, you know, and you end up doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't even like smile like not awkwardly for a photo. Like I had a Chandler Bing, you know, like the like that smile. Like I couldn't do it right. You had to like surprise me. You had to be like, no, hey, look up here. Like yeah, that's surprise. And I don't know. I never wore makeup until I turned like 21, and because I was bartending and I needed tips. And you never know. I followed where everything went, and I'm really happy with where I'm at now, and I'm glad that I had no clue growing up, and I'm glad that I grew up a little slower and I wasn't into any of that stuff in high school, and I wouldn't change anything. You know, I'm happy to be one of the unpopular kids back then, because it makes everything so much more satisfying right now.
For the haters, can you explain how it's different, you doing that versus what the ring girls do? Because there was all this chatter, and personally I thought it was ridiculous, but can you maybe speak to that?
Well, no one saw my vagina. There's one big difference. The agreement that me and my mom came up with was whatever you're not willing to show in public, you won't show in a magazine. So if I'm gonna tan on the beach with a top on and my top off, face down, how is that different than anything that I've shot so far? You know, if they can't see your cash and prizes, then you know. Then I'm fine with it. If I'm gonna do that on a Saturday, then what's wrong with me doing it in a magazine? And I purposely, anytime that I do a shoot that's aimed for any kind of feminine or sexual purpose, I try to be a little bigger on purpose, just to try and promote a healthier body image. Yeah. And you know, it's kind of funny that I think that does a lot more to change what women expect from themselves than not doing anything at all and withholding any sexuality at all. I think that changing the kind of media and images directed at men changes what women expect out of themselves.
What, if anything, has changed for you since you got the call that you guys were the main event and Chris's fight had fallen through? I mean, would this be going on right now if that hadn't happened?
I don't know. I don't know if we would. I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. I think we've had scrums for co-mains before. Maybe.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Misha?
Strike Force. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
That was the main. Strike Force was.
I don't know, but aren't you glad it did so we can spend all this quality time together right now?
I would have anyway. So.
Yeah, there hasn't been that much. I had to do like one extra satellite radio, and I think maybe the scrum is if there'd be any difference today, it is the only difference there would be.
Is it fair to assume there's a contract renegotiation when you're bumped up to the main event? Or is that already established when you first signed the contract?
I mean, I don't talk about my contract too much, but yeah, it's when I'm the main or co-main, I'm taken care of either way. So I'm happy with either.
Are there any disadvantages to fighting close to home?
Disadvantages? Well, I keep thinking of people that I should get tickets for. That I wouldn't even have to think of that if I was fighting somewhere else. And so I'm like, oh my God, I forgot this person, that person, that person. Because usually I know everyone who's traveling to the fight, and so I can take care of them. Whereas like at home, I think like, oh my God, I forgot this. Oh no, this person. Oh no, if I got this person, not that person, then they'll think that I like them more. And yeah, it's more the buying everybody tickets. That's the hardest part. It's not hard. It's not like I'm strapped for cash. I mean, the UFC takes great care of me, but I mean, I just keep forgetting, and the event's selling out, you know. So it's like,
Are you the type of fighter that likes to stay traditional? You'll stay at the fighter hotel, or will you stay at home and drive to the venue from home?
Yeah, I like to do everything the same. So I'll be going to the fighter hotel, doing everything like that. It's more of like it's like a mix between a Pavlovian and a Thorndike's-Law transfer kind of thing, you know, as close as one situation is to another, the more stimulus will transfer over. And so it just kind of, it's that kind of environment that stimulates my mind to get into a certain state.
That video of you training with BJ Penn, when was that?
That was like a year or two ago. That was a long time ago.
Because people were saying it was from like this camp. I was like,
no.
So-
I hadn't worn like gi and like done any judo or grappling like that in so long. And the funny thing is, I didn't know that the Mendez's like club has no, like, you have to only wear white gis. I didn't know that, so I just showed up with like my blue, like, on a big gi, and they're like, no one has ever stepped on this mat with a gi that is not white. And I'm like, I don't know, you gotta send me home or something, guys. Like, send me home or what? I'll do no gi. I don't know. But yeah, they were cool. They let me go on with the blue gi, and it's funny watching the video because it's like I'm glowing because everything is so white, you know. It's kind of funny, but it was a very interesting experience. You know, BJ was the first MMA, one of the first like MMA superstar guys that I ever met in person. Was like, oh my God, that's BJ Penn, you know. And it was cool to be able to put a gi on and do more what's in both of our roots, you know, judo and jiu-jitsu. I feel like it's just, they're both the same sport with different emphasis, and it's nice to, it was very, very cool. I haven't really put on a gi on and like done any real randori with anybody since. But randori is judo sparring, for all you guys that have no clue what I'm talking about there. Yeah, but it's cool. BJ is awesome. He's not one of those people that has testosterone poisoning trying to hurt you or prove a point. That's my mom's term, testosterone poisoning. But yeah, I would jump on any chance to roll with him again.
I overheard you talking about your eyesight, that you can, you have a great perception, picking things out from mixed patterns and stuff. Can you talk about that? I just only heard a little bit.
Yeah, it has to go with when I was going to do search and rescue. I was going to be a rescue swimmer if MMA didn't work out. And yeah, I've always had great vision, and my sisters always had contacts and glasses and stuff like that. So if anyone dropped their contact on the bathroom floor, they'd call me, "Oh, no, find it out." I'd like walk in, like, there it is. And there's times where you know, I'll be shadow boxing. There was once in like a tiniest little spider like fell down from one of the things I had to stop. I'm like, oh no, spider, and I went and got it. And like I was on the speed bag, I was on the double end bag the other day. I hit it, and I just saw from the corner of my eye there was a bug over there. And I was running up the sand dunes in Malibu, and then just stopped 1 second. I'm like, oh wait, and there's all these like gray pebbles, and then I like, hey, look, there's a ring in the sand, and I found like this little ring that was just sitting in there. And you guys ever play that Donkey Kong game? They had like the mini games, and they had like the barrel with the balloon that goes boop, 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 boop. back and forth, right? I never lost that game once. Never once. Because it goes so fast, it's a blur, and you have to find like the last one it was on, and I always knew. I don't know why I have like quick eye twitch thing or something. I'm sure there's like a medical scientific thing that I've not been tested for, but I have quick twitchy eyes.
You're great at Where's Waldo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really good at Where's Waldo, and yeah, anything, picking out small things. So I thought I'd always be really good if there's like one person, some waves or something, be like, hey, there's the dude, there's drowning dude, there's Waldo. It's just like that's like that, but like a lot more pressure, right? Yeah.
Cool.
How cool they said they grab Edmund.
We'll get Coach Evan up here next.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
What, that's the question. World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Are you a fan?
Am I a fan of World of Warcraft? Yes. I was playing last night.
How much do you play?
More than I would care to admit. I started playing when I was in Bulgaria shooting Expendables, so I had like a lot of downtime. And yeah, I started with a Night Elf Hunter, and now I have a Blood Elf Rogue, a Night Elf Hunter, and I have another Night Elf Druid, but I'm not as into her so much right now because I like outfits, and the Druids are just kind of better when they're shape-shifting, and I just like mounts and outfits. So right now I'm totally more into my Night Elf right now because I just got a flying mount for the Snowy Griffin. I'm pretty stoked on it. Yeah, once I could fly, I was like, what? 3-dimensional everywhere! Like, it just blew my mind. So yeah, I've been flying around this whole camp. I always have a new thing that I'm obsessed with every camp. I think the last one, it was, what was I doing? I was mostly playing Pokemon last camp. But this one I've been reading, I read the whole Maze Runner series, and have been playing World of Warcraft and watching Vice.
Is this what you do?
I just
Told me like
dude, listen. Okay, I like read into like page like 170 or something and then put it down. Just last night I picked it up from like where I left off and started reading Game of Thrones again. It's like you read my mind. So if I went back to like where never mind, I'm not gonna get into it. Am I free?
Thank you.
Thank you. Ugh.